What is going on, guys? I'm Dave, back with another episode of Debt Free Differently, as we say goodbye to what was probably the longest year of all of our lives and step into a new one. This video is about the most popular money-related resolutions that people make year in and year out. Did you know that only 25% of people stick to their New Year's resolutions after 30 days and only 8% actually finish? In this video, I'll show you how you can be in that 8%. Let's jump into these money resolutions. Start with sticking to a budget. This sounds so simple, but you can only keep this one if you create a budget in the first place, which I think a lot of people don't even get to. This is not one of those fly by the seat of your pants goals. You actually need to know what you make and what you spend on a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis. One of the most effective ways to create a budget and actually stick to it is using the envelope budget system. With this system, you create a job for every dollar of your paycheck. You set it aside and you only use it for that purpose. You basically take inventory of what's coming in, what's going out, and you see if there's anything left over to save. I made a whole video on how you can set up the envelope budget system with your bank, which helps you do your budget automatically, and I'll link to that in the description. Hand in hand with this is another popular resolution: save money. You need to have a budget, but one of the best ways to save is just to control your spending. If your biggest issue is day-to-day spending, something that's been very effective for us is opening up a separate checking account with a debit card that we carry around for day-to-day expenses. We did this at our local credit union because they offer checking accounts with no fees or no minimums, and they also let us have debit cards that decline instead of overdrafting. With these cards, we're basically putting ourselves on an allowance for day-to-day expenses. We transfer a set amount of money to the cards each week, and that's all the money that we're allowed to spend. It removes a variable in our envelope system and lets our savings be very consistent. Since we're not carrying around credit cards or the debit card connected to our main checking account, there's a limit to what we can spend while we're out and about. We can still go out and get food, we can buy gas, we can do some little things here and there, but there's a limit. Another reason why I like this is that it trains you to be okay with delayed gratification. So let's say you give yourself $100 per week, but you really want to buy a new pair of headphones. Like you did when you were a kid, this forces you to spend less for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks to make sure that you have enough money to buy them. You can still get what you want, but you usually have to wait, and the math is usually pretty simple. Separately, if you're trying to save for an emergency fund, I'd highly recommend tucking away between 3 to 6 months of expenses, and I'd go with expenses there, not income. Some people try and save 3 to 6 months of income, or they try and save 12 months of expenses, and in most cases, that's probably going to be overkill. In an absolute emergency situation, you would cut a lot of your discretionary expenses and live a lot leaner than you would when you have income. People often wonder if they should be closer to the 3-month or the 6-month mark. While there are no set guidelines for this, it really comes down to what you're comfortable with. Here are some of the factors that I would consider. Are you a single income family? Do you have kids? Would it take you a long time to find a new job if you had to? And do you have a backup job that you could use to create income if you had to? I made a whole video about emergency funds, and I'll link to that in the description. Whatever you want to save, set an amount and create a plan. Maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $5,000, maybe it's a fully funded emergency fund. Figure out how much you can save and how long it will take you to get there. To hit a target, you have to know what you're aiming for. 2 other very common resolutions are to eat healthier or cook more at home. These could be one and the same unless you eat like you did when you were a teenager when you're at home. While you can and should absolutely do this for health reasons, this can also have a huge impact on your budget. Did you know that every time you go out for lunch at work, you could be wasting $11 compared to bringing lunch from home? So depending on how many times you go out for lunch during the week, you could be wasting over $2,000 per year. When you add dinners into the mix, that could easily balloon up to $5,000 per year, depending on how often you eat out. That's a lot of money that could be doing a lot of things: saving for a house, paying down debt, saving for your kids' college, saving for a car, or something else. You could be eating away your chance to become a millionaire in retirement. Of course, I made a video on how the cost of eating out affects your finances, and I'll link to that in the description as well. Let's make this the year that we keep those resolutions, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Debt Free Differently.